Going to be talking a lot of Tua Tagovailoa today, because this year it's an important one. What is up, Finn fans? Hope you guys had a fantastic, fun 4th of July. Hope everyone's safe. You all got your digits. You were safe with your fireworks. Be safe. Real quick, if you didn't watch the 4th of July video or the video that came out yesterday, I don't remember what I talked about. I think it was Jalen Waddle. In the beginning of it, I talked about the ticket giveaway and how you can sign up. So far, 206 of you guys have signed up already. Go check out yesterday's video in the beginning. It shows you how to sign up. I will be making the announcement of the winner on July 17th. So you got a hot minute. Go check the video out and be sure to sign up. Also, I got to shout out somebody. Oh, I'm going to put the name here, but it's Umbreon Untamed. Go check out his Twitch account. I'm doing a video, obviously, today on Tua Tagovailoa, the good and the bad. Also, we're going to, listen, or I'm going to tell you what Jalen Waddle had to say about Tua and what makes him special. And I asked my man for some help to find a chart that I was looking for, and it was completely the wrong chart, but he still helped me. He still was awesome. So go check out his Twitch account, and thank you so much for helping me, brother. So we're gonna jump into this. So yeah, I don't know what I titled the video, but we're gonna be talking a lot of Tua today. This is a very big year for Tua. Obviously, they picked up his 5th-year option next year, so he will be a Dolphin for this year and next year unless they trade him. But this is a big year. It's on him and the offensive line, right? In my opinion, it's on him and the offensive line. Especially what you saw last year, he had his hiccups, and those hiccups and some other things kind of started to sputter the Miami Dolphins, and especially with him not on the field, kind of really hurt the Dolphins. So to me, this is it. Right? He showed me, okay, I can play at that high level. Okay, I can do the things that'll keep me at that high level. I can have this offense scoring points. I can run it crazily good. Now he needs to, I'm going to talk about it. I got all the things I'm going to talk about. But this is such a pivotal year for him and the Miami Dolphins, in my opinion, that I'm making this video. What is it called? I don't know yet. But also, Jalen Waddle explains what makes Tua special. And we're gonna talk about the article first, and then we're gonna kind of get into the good and the bad, or the positive and negative traits of Tua Tagovailoa. And I have stats, and I have a ton of stuff. So without further ado, let's jump into this. And we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna first start off with Jalen Waddle and him talking about what makes Tua special. And this was an article from CBS written by Jordan Dajani. Hope I said your name right. He says, the 2023 Miami Dolphins offense has been compared to a race car game by cornerback Xavier Howard, and fans are certainly expecting fireworks this upcoming season. With the speed Mike McDaniel's unit possesses, this offense can score from anywhere on the field if defenses aren't careful. The conductor of the Miami Dolphins offense is quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, who put together a career year in 2022 despite missing the better part of 5 games due to concussion. He became the first Dolphin quarterback to lead the NFL in passer rating since Dan Marino in 1984. So again, some people want to poo-poo about Tua and say like, oh, that passer rating, because people bring it up. It's an achievement. Oh, that's all people talk about. That's all people talk about. Who cares? Nick Foles led the NFL in passer rating, and he should be commended for it because it's a big thing, especially since it hasn't happened to the Dolphins quarterback since 1984. And Miami averaged 6.5 yards per play with Tua as the starter, which was the most by any starting quarterback in the league last season. Again, him on the field and him off the field, you saw the difference of this team. There's still differing opinions when it comes to Tua, but there's no doubt his wide receivers love him. Click to Houston recently asked Jalen Waddle what makes Tua special. The Dolphins receivers responded saying it's how his quarterback throws the football. Waddle says his ball placement. I think everyone sees it, knowing exactly where to put the ball, where his receivers can not just catch it, but catch it on the run with it. So that's what makes Tua Tua. Waddle knows Tua well. He as he threw the wide out, his first touchdown in college Alabama, in college at Alabama, and his first touchdown in the NFL as well. Waddle said McDaniel harped on Yak in his first season as a head coach, and Waddle certainly got the message. The second-year wideout led the entire league in yards per reception, 18.1, while catching 75 passes for 13,556 yards and 8 touchdowns. It was a reason he made CBS list top 10 receivers entering 2023, and thanks to his quarterback and head coach, Waddle will likely be on that list for years to come. So he made a very good point, right, about the throwing it to where they can catch it. And a lot of times people miss stuff like that, especially when it comes to the quarterback and, you kind of look at the wide receiver or see where they catch it and see what they do and either praise or blame, right? Because there'll be times where a wide receiver will be running a crossing route, a post route, any type of route where they're moving across the field, right? So they can be running a crosser, a post, whatever. And you'll see the quarterback kind of throw the ball to the back shoulder or kind of lead them away, especially if it's on a crossing route, right? They'll kind of throw it to the back shoulder and people are like, oh, that was off. He should have let him more. But we see a finite window until you look at the film. We see a finite window. And I've noticed a few times, especially in the red zone, where a receiver will be running across the end zone and Tua will kind of throw it to his back shoulder. The receiver will still catch it and get the touchdown. But when you watch it on TV, it looks weird that the receiver kind of went this way instead of, out in front of him. But there was a defender right there. And what Tua is doing is he's leading his receiver away from the defender, not leading him into the defender where the defender's going to hit him and try to smack the ball out and potentially hurt the receiver. That happens a lot. Tua, with his ball placement, is very good. A lot of people want to call, not a lot, I'm not going to say it's a lot, but I've heard people, I'm going to start saying that from now on. I've heard people call him a spot thrower and use that as a negative thing, and I don't know where the negativity of being a spot thrower comes from, because that's what all NFL quarterbacks do. They throw to where you're supposed to be. That's how the quarterback position is. Like if you're running a go route, they're not going to throw it to you because then you're not going to run it the rest of the way. They're going to throw it to where you're going to be. They're throwing it to a spot on the field. You're running a go route. You're at the 30. They're going to drop it at the 25, especially if you're fast enough to make that separation. Boop. And catch it. Same thing with the post route. Same thing with the go route. Same thing with the curl route. If it's a curl route and as soon as the receiver plants his foot to turn, that ball should be there. Should be at the spot where he's going to be. Same thing with the post route. He plants that foot and starts to run in. That ball should already be in the air so he can catch it and continue running to the spot where it needs to be. So I don't understand when all of a sudden spot thrower became a negative thing, because that touchdown pass against the Patriots on, 4th and 2 right before the half, he threw it to the spot. Jalen Waddle took it the rest of the way. The touchdown pass against the Green Bay Packers with 2 defenders in his face, he threw it to the spot, and Jalen Waddle took it the rest of the way. I don't see that as a bad thing. But yeah, his receivers love him. There's a lot of people. Now, we're going to get into the good and the bad, right? And for people who are going to say, what good, you dumb. And to the people who are going to say, what bad, you dumb. There is, every quarterback in the NFL has good and bad. Some have more good than bad, and some have more bad than good. And we're going to talk about Tua's good, and we're going to talk about Tua's bad. Just from me watching film on him for the past 3 years after every single game, I've been taking notes. I have some stats here. We're going to, kind of talk about it, where he can get better, where he's good, all that stuff, especially going into training camp and going into, again, this pivotal 2023 season where we are dependent on Tua. We need him on the field. And it was a prime example in that article, like I said, how different the play on the field is versus when he's on the field, when he's off the field, how different that play is. But Tua, I'm going to say this, right? Because being that this is a Tua video, he is, I've never seen a player in the NFL, especially a quarterback in the NFL, gets such diversity when it comes to his own fan base, right? Like the Bills hating on him, and the Jets hating on him, and maybe the Ravens hating on him, or the Chargers hating on him. That's understandable because they're rivals, but the Chargers aren't rivals. They just forget that they wanted him. They can deny it now. It's cataloged in the histories of Twitter and everything. Charger fans wanted Tua, but now they got Justin Herbert, so they're like, we never wanted Tua. It's okay. But that's understandable because they're rivals. But I've never seen our own fan base be so divisive on their own quarterback. Like, and I say that there's some that hate him, and that's a strong word. I've seen it. I've seen it in chats. I've seen it in live streams. I've seen it in my own comment section, on my own Twitter. There are people who hate Tua. And then there's the other side. There are people who you cannot, and I've seen it in my own channel. I had to block somebody because they got a little too aggressive when I would say the littlest thing about Tua in a negative way. They would come after me. So I was like, look, I got to block him because he's getting a little too crazy. It happens. I've never seen this before. I've been a football fan for 30 years. Never seen this before. And it's not Tua's fault. Some people blame Tua. It's Tua's fault. How is it his fault? He's not coming out saying these things like, hey, you better praise me, or I'm the best ever, and da-da-da. No. So, let's talk about this. I went off on a little tangent. I didn't mean to. Apologize. So, we're going to talk about this, and I'm going to intermingle the good and the bad. Right? I'm not going to do all good and then I'm going to do all bad. I'm going to kind of intermingle them because some of them kind of coincide with each other. But like the first good thing I noticed about Tua is that he learns from his mistakes, right? And a prime example of that, and it's young Tua, I think his rookie year against the Patriots, marches us down the field, and then instead of just running the ball in himself, he tries to throw a pass. Again, he's a lefty. So he tries to throw a pass across his body to the right side of the field, ends up being an interception, and, kicks himself. And then after that, the next 2 times he runs it on himself, and he learned from it. And to the point where, he scores that one touchdown. He goes over to Ryan Fitzpatrick on the sideline, and he's like, should I have done that, or blah, blah, blah. And Fitz is like, who cares? You scored, man. Don't worry about it. Move on to the next play. Like, he's very meticulous in his head about making sure he doesn't do something again. And it happens throughout the season. And you'll notice it. He'll make a stupid mistake, and then he'll kind of, adjust and move on from it and not do it again. That's something I've noticed about him. And that's probably like one of the things I like the most about him, that, I'm like, oh, he just got baited. He just got baited there. He won't get baited again in that instance, right? He'll obviously get baited again. All quarterbacks get baited, especially if you're facing a good corner that will bait you. But he's good at that, right? One of the bads, he still holds the ball too long, right? That was one of the things that was a knock on him his rookie year and even his second year. He was taking some unwarranted sacks in training camp, even though he couldn't physically be hit. He would take some sacks in training camp and all that stuff. And you saw it, right? He's held the ball. And then this year, right, his 2 concussions. It's because he held the ball too long. Against the Saints, he had plenty of time. You're either going to take off on your own. He had room. You're going to throw it or throw it away and live to play another down. And then against the Packers, he had Gesicki on the post rush. It was just throwing it up. It's not there. Get rid of the ball. Right? Play another down. He didn't. Boom. 2 concussions. Knocked him out. Really hurt the team. So he holds the ball too long. And that's something he needs to learn to either throw it to your check down or get rid of the ball. Get out of the pocket. Get rid of the ball. Boom. Go play your another down. Good thing. It's statistically, and I've seen it with my own eyes, he has gotten better every year, right? Came into the NFL in a pandemic year, no training camp, nothing like that. Had to learn in a foreign playbook to him. And I know people are going to be like, that's the NFL, Doug. He shouldn't have to learn a foreign playbook. Well, not all quarterbacks get that, accommodation. You look at Justin Herbert, you look at Joe Burrow, they had their college playbooks implemented into their playbook to make it an easier transition for him. Tua, not so much. So he came in, he did his thing. He still had his rookie things. He played all right here and there. Defense definitely carried him. His second year got better, but again, wasn't really pushing the ball down the field. Was more throwing check downs, being more conservative, letting his defense win, something he was learned on. And then last year, he was pushing the ball down the field, being more aggressive and, learning and getting better. And his stats were getting better. His play was getting better as the years go on. Hopefully that trajectory keeps going up. Hopefully he keeps learning from his mistakes, building off of them, and getting better every year. Again, check down Tua. It's learned from his mistakes. The following year gets better, starts pushing the ball down the field. A bad. Let's throw a bad in there. He tends to get in a funk. He tends to get in a funk. Whether I don't think it's necessarily in his head, but he tends to get in a funk a little bit at some points in the season, but then he gets himself out of it. But he does. Like against the 49ers and the Chargers, those are games that he should have won, especially the 49ers. He wasn't playing bad for a good, first quarter of the 49ers game. And all of a sudden, they got pressure on him, and he just got into a funk. Same thing with that Chargers game. He just got into a funk, and then he's stuck in it, and he was not playing good. That's something he needs to work on. That's something he needs to kind of like self-assess and then move on from it, right? But then on the flip side, right, about that funk situation, this is a positive. He fights, and you're like, what do you mean he fights? I have two great examples, in my opinion, of him fighting. Is the Ravens game that he fought through. He had two dumb interceptions, and yes, they were very dumb. And he fought through them, and he came back. A lot of people want to equate that to the defense. Well, the defense let the guys wide open, and he was this and that. Fought through it, made some great plays. The spin out play where he had the pressure on him, the touchdown play to Jalen Waddle. People want to equate like, oh, he was throwing it to wide open Tyreek Hill. He didn't really fight back. That was 2 touchdowns. You're forgetting about the Craycraft touchdown. You're forgetting about the game-winning touchdown where he wasn't throwing to wide open guys and he made the plays. And then the Atlanta Falcons game where he threw 2 interceptions, one of them dumb. The other one is dumb still, but it was also on Durham Smythe for not running his route properly. But he fights back, and he's running through first downs, injuring the safety trying to tackle him, and he gives us a lead with 2 minutes left, less than 2 minutes left. So he still has that fight, but again, he still kind of gets into that funk. A negative. And this is a big one, and it gets talked about a lot, and some people don't like that it gets brought up a lot, but his injuries, right? He got banged up his rookie year. I think it was his finger. He missed the Jets game. And then his second year, he had the rib injury from Jesse Davis, horrible non-block where he broke a rib. And then he had that magical finger injury, which that one is where it put a weird taste in my mouth with the whole Brian Flores and him situation, because all of a sudden he's injured to not play, but he's healthy enough to be the backup. What? Like, that didn't make sense. And then, unfortunately, this year, the concussions. Now, obviously, it's not something like he's doing on purpose, and it's not something where he's, like, going out and doing it. But it's something that's hanging over his head because he hasn't played a full season. And you could say, well, no quarterback is fully healthy. Yeah, but look at Justin Herbert. He was banged up, and he played the full season. So that injury, it's a problem. And it's a problem to the point where the Dolphins could be very, very successful this year. But what is the one thing you hear? If Tua can stay healthy. It's a thing. It's a real thing. Good. Let's get to some positives. Let's get back to the positives. His pocket presence. That man's got a very good pocket presence. And you might poo-poo that, and you might think, no, he doesn't. When he gets pressure in his face, he crumbles. I recommend you going and watching the Jaguars game in 2021, where he multiple times threw dots while getting crushed. The Saints game where he threw that pass to Mac Hollins down the sideline. He got crushed when he threw that. The Packers game on Christmas where he threw the pass to Waddle, who took it the rest of the way. He got crushed after he threw that. I'll give you some stats. Time to throw, 35th ranked in the NFL with 2.53 seconds for time to throw. And no, that's not release time. That's how much time from the snap until he's about to get hit he has to throw. And that is 35th ranked. But then you look at his allowed pressure. And now essentially what allowed pressure is, if he stands there and he holds the ball too long, that's the allowed pressure, right? 13%. 13% of the pressure is on him. And you think, oh, that's a good amount. It's not. It's like 11th less in the NFL. It's actually really good. It's better than a lot of top quarterbacks. It's on par with Justin Herbert, if I'm remembering correctly. And then also, there's this chart here. Top quarterback passing from the pocket. Number 2. Tua Tagovailoa. He has a very good pocket presence. And this is ranked EPA per attempt, minimum 150 attempts. But Tua, second. He's a very good pocket passer. And he's got that awareness. And he moves up and he does the things he has to do. That's, to me, very good. Back to the bad. Again, intermingling them. His arm strength, right? He's not Justin Herbert. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Aaron Rodgers in his prime. He's not Dan Marino. He doesn't have that rocket arm where he's just going to flick of the wrist and launch that sucker 50 yards and all that stuff. And it's, sometimes it hurts him. But to me, he can still make the throws. We've seen him make the out routes. We've seen him get the ball to Tyreek Hill, regardless if he has to slow down or not. But Tyreek Hill is just that type of player where he's going to slow down regardless of who the quarterback is throwing him. But I don't see it as a hindrance, and I don't think not having a strong arm will stop him from being good. I can name quarterbacks that don't have a strong arm. Peyton Manning talked about how his arm strength wasn't always good, and then he had the neck injury, which hurt, brought down his arm strength. Drew Brees didn't have a crazy good arm strength. There's the quarterbacks in the Hall of Famers that didn't have good, crazy rocket arm strength. I think Joe Montana, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't think he had a rocket arm. It's not a hindrance, but it is. He's not gonna flick of the wrist throw that ball 40 yards down the field. Back to the good, ball placement. Tua has some, and I talked about it when the video started. Tua has some good ball placement. He knows where to put it, whether it's the left shoulder, the right shoulder. When Devontae Parker was still on the team and he was his number one receiver, he threw a lot of back shoulders, 50-50 balls to him, where either Parker was going to catch it or no one else was, and Parker caught it. You look at that high ball pass to Gesicki against the Ravens. A lot of people thought that was an overthrow. No, he had 3 defenders around him. He put that ball where Gesicki's going to catch. He's going to jump up and get it. I got this stat here, which is very surprising. Open target percentage, right? So this is, how many times these receivers were butt naked open target percentage. And you would expect Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to be up here, being that, the whole thing with Tua is he throws it to wide open guys. They're wide open. Tyreek Hill's 13th. Jalen Waddle's 20th. Now, that's still good. I'm not saying like, oh, Tua's throwing a garbage wide receivers. No, because that would be dumb of me to say. But they're not butt naked open. Tyler Lockett, Paris Campbell, Richie James Jr., Cooper Kupp, Zay Jones, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Ayuk, Keenan Allen was more open. Devontae Smith, Chris Godwin, Juju Smith, Debo. Then you got Tyreek. Then you got Curtis Samuel, Josh Palmer, Russell Cage, Christian Kirk, CeeDee Lamb, Demarcus Robinson. Then you got Jalen Waddle. So, again, you look at that, and a lot of it, ball placement. Now, again, it does help that you have guys who can catch it really well. Like Jalen Waddle needs to work on it. Again, he was second in the NFL in drops with 8. But Tyreek, he's a small man, but he'll catch anything thrown his way. But you got to give Tua that credit, right, with that ball placement. But that's what I got for you, right? The good and the bad. There's probably more bad that I missed. Comment below. And there's probably more good that I missed. Comment below, right? Some people want to say he doesn't read defenses. I don't agree with that. To play, and some people think that he just throws it to the first read. I don't agree with that. Now, I could see people saying that as a bad, but again, I don't agree with that. I've seen him read defenses. I've seen him go through his progression. Some people will say that's not him going through his progression. That's essentially him faking it. Like, oh, he's looking here, but he wants to throw here. That's different. That's different than going through your progressions, and that's different than looking off a safety, and that's all different. But comment below. Let me know what you think. If I missed any good, if I missed any bad, comment below. Very interested to hear what you have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys understood why I made this video. Again, 2023, a very big year for Tua. I think he has more good than bad. Like I said, I do think every quarterback has some good and some bad. I can go over all 32 quarterbacks and talk about their goods and talk about their bads. But I do think Tua has more good than bad. Some of you guys didn't like the fact that I ranked him around 14th. Right outside the top 10, in my opinion. And it's because he needs to stay on the field. That man stays on the field. If he stayed on the field and did not get injured last year, he's a top 5 quarterback statistically. And we win way more games than we did. He was 3rd ranked in the NFL in yards per game. Just imagine he didn't miss those 5 games where he would have been at passing yards, touchdowns, all that stuff. So again, that's why I just put him outside the top 10, is because he's got to stay on the field. And I know it's a thing that's constantly said, but as a Dolphin fan and as one that has it tattooed on him and just loves this team, the fact that I'm making this my career, you see what could have been, and it kills that it all depended on him staying healthy. Right? And that's why it's such a talking point. And that's why, for me, it is the biggest talking point of 2023. He needs to stay healthy because he is that good, in my opinion, that if he stays healthy, this Dolphin team is good enough to go far. And that's why it's brought up. And that's why a lot of people bring it up, because a lot of people see it. That's why other teams and rivals make fun of it. Which they shouldn't. It's kind of a classless move to make fun of somebody's concussions. But that's why, because go ask Bill fans. Go ask Bill fans. And Bill fans, if you're in the comment section, who would you have preferred to face in the playoffs? Skylar Thompson or Tua Tagovailoa? Because I've collabed with them before that playoff game, and I know the answer. And it wasn't Skylar Thompson. Trust me on that. Because they know if Tua played, we would have won that game. So got to stay healthy, my man. You're the quarterback of this team for a reason, and we need you out there. But I hope you enjoyed that. Comment below. Like I said, let me know. I will see you guys in the next video. But like usual, stay classy. Fins up.